pondered upon the implications of what would ensue if death ceased to be. What if humans finally attained their lifelong dream of immortality? Would it be as rosy and merry as we drew it out to be? Not really. Death with Interruptions by José Saramago is a story which explores the consequences of death being an immortal being who stops doing her job. This book warns humans to be careful what they wish for, as the laws of nature exist for upholding the balance of the universe. I'm Sneha Vinod and welcome to another episode of Book Talk. José Saramago was a Portuguese writer and a recipient of the Nobel Prize in Literature who challenged the idea of mortality with the theme of eternal life in his Death with Interruptions by exploring not just the fear of death but a fear of life itself. The story opens in an unspecified country on New Year's Day when death finally fulfills man's desire to be immortal. Even though this death of death is initially met with much enthusiasm, people are quick to realize the catastrophic aftermath of the dream of everlasting life. Clergymen, theologians, and philosophers are the first to give in to the panic, as their entire institution is built on the idea that death serves as the ultimate judge who sifts through people, sending them to heaven and hell. The Church fears that this is their end, as death and rebirth of Christ would no longer be relevant. The anxiety of death's disappearance is quick to spread over other sects of the society, like the morticians and funeral workers, who would be put out of business or reduced to the task of burying dead animals at best. Hospital and healthcare workers find themselves in the midst of an endless mass of people who are in the constant need of their assistance. Old age homes begin to overflow, and insurance agencies desperately attempt inventing new ways to keep their business up and running. The attempt at ending the pitiful life of an old man suspended in middle ground between life and death leads to the discovery that to die, one just needs to cross the border of their country and enter the next one where death was still functioning. This knowledge leads to the formation of a cult called Mafia, who assist in killing the terminally ill who would much rather embrace death than drag on. As the Mafia further grows into a huge underground sect, even the government is forced to turn a blind eye to its activities. The continuous dumping of dead bodies on the neighboring countries' borders results in tension between the neighbors, with the threat of war looming over. As all this unrest unfolds, Death is seen sitting back and enjoying the fruits of her experiment. She is initially seen in the form of a skull and skeleton, but later takes on the appearance of a beautiful young woman. As she observes the chaos that unfolds before her, she decides to do the people a favor and restart Death, but this time with the mercy of a prior 1 week's notice. She comes up with the idea of sending everyone a violet envelope, which would warn them of their demise and give them time to get their affairs in order and depart peacefully. Although this alternative was chosen with pure intentions, this idea backfires as people spiral into a panicky frenzy as opposed to getting things in order. The story takes an interesting turn when death is defied by a cellist whose violet envelope repeatedly gets sent back to her. Intrigued by this anomaly, Death decides to pay the cellist a visit and hand over the envelope herself, only to end up falling in love with him. She is forced to forget about the job she followed since the dawn of time in the face of love and ends up losing her powers and becoming human-like as she falls asleep in his hands, hinting that love can provide the way out as long as you're willing to act. But then again, aren't people supposed to follow their duty, their karma, despite the circumstances? I'll leave that up to you to decide.